Ever since you can remember, you felt something in your chest telling you to move, to love, to speak, to try. Day after day, you pretend you don't hear it calling, or maybe you dismiss it as silliness or worse. But it's there, ready for you, and it will wait for you as long as you need. My name is Johnny G, and I invite you to join me on a journey of awakening as we dare to embrace our light. This is Refractive. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Refractive Podcast. I'm Johnny G. Today, I am so delighted to introduce you to a very close friend of mine from way back in the day, right? 2000.
Back in the day.
Her name is Keyia Kersey, and she is a career strategist. She's worked in that area for quite a long time. She actually studied, I met her back through my human resources link. In fact, her master's is in human resources management and organizational leadership. She is also certified by the Myers-Briggs company for the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. And so I thought that there was some really beautiful wealth of knowledge to bring to the listeners today on what to do when you get to a point where you realize that your current career doesn't fit anymore. I've been there, Keyya's been there, and a lot of listeners are there right now. And we know that what we're doing today doesn't fit, but it's terrifying to think about starting career number two, right? Because first of all, what do we even like doing? What are people going to be willing to pay us to do that makes us feel good? And is it going to meet the financial needs of our family?
That's right.
Is it viable? There's so many facets to consider in this decision that what happens to most people is they say, well, the career I'm in right now is not awful. I don't really love it, but it's okay. And they don't move because they're too scared of all of these variables. They're scared of what feels like a momentous calculation to have to get into a career that feels right. Well, I'm here to tell you that I've been able to shift out of a career into one that feels right. Keyia has done that as well. It's not as complicated or as difficult. It's a big project, but it's not impossible. In fact, it's very possible. And she has some wisdom to share with the listeners today on exactly how to do that. So before we get into all the nitty gritty, how are you doing, my love?
I'm doing great. Johnny, I just want to start by saying thank you so much for having me on the show today. You're such a rock star, and I'm so honored to be here. And I'm excited. I'm excited to share with our listeners today.
Oh, I'm excited to share all the giggles and laughter with our listeners today. Because
okay, the audience will have to bear with us because we are giggling and laughing together. So we'll have to keep it together. We will try to keep it together for everyone.
I can't make any promises.
But keep it together.
In fact, I want to tell everybody, I've told this story.
What are you going to tell? I'm not ready.
But I need to tell everybody how I met Keyia. So
don't do it.
I will.
Don't embarrass.
I won't embarrass you. So back in 2008, I was working for Lowe's Hotels at the time in human resources.
Working for Lowe's, that's right.
Yes. And so I got invited to come do a lecture at Widener University.
I love this story. I do love this story.
Yes. So I went out to Widener University and I did this lecture on some stuff that we did. I don't even remember exactly the title, the topic.
But you were talking about the culture of the organization, and that's who you were. It was really like the culture and what training was all about from the cultural standpoint. It was neat. I remember.
Yes. And so after the lecture was over, this lady, she is tall and lean, right? She is tall and lean like a cartoon character. And she like hops up out of her seat in her business suit, right? She is wearing business attire. And she like bounces over to me with all the earnestness of
not the bounce.
Not the powerful woman. And she like sticks her hand out with such force. And
Can you stick that hand out
thank
again?
you so much for coming to do our lecture. I really enjoyed it. And my name is, and we have just been connected ever since.
That was a good rendition of Keyia 2008.
She
And
was
we
very Elle
had,
Woods, like from Legally Blonde. Like she's just gonna take over the world, and like nobody's gonna get in her way. And she knows, she's about to give me a perfume scented resume. That's how it is.
I appreciate that story. That is a true story. That's exactly how I met. I was just like, he's a rock star. He's gonna be my friend. And guess what? It worked. You've been my friend
It worked.
ever since. I mean, we have, from taking planes to see each other, to driving across country to see each other, from Amtrak trains to see each other. We have been inseparable ever since. So love you.
That's right. I love you, my dear. And so today, you just happen to have built a career around helping other people with their own careers. And so I'd
Sure.
love to hear what you have in store for us today, as far as how to help people in this moment of pivot in their lives.
Yeah, I love this topic because so many of us are either going through it or we have gone through it, as you said, at some point in our lives. But really, when identifying the career that's the best fit for you, when you're trying to figure out what is my career passion, where is my niche, where should I be? There's three things that I always recommend you do. Number one, discover your personality type. Discovering your personality type really will allow you to identify your strengths. I like to call them your superpowers.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Superpowers, because
my superpowers. Come on.
This is the thing. We all have a superpower.
I have
if you're in a job right now or in a career right now, you feel like, it's okay. And if you feel like, I'm really not, doing what I want to do, you have not tapped into your superpower.
Yes.
We all have a superpower, and I so want for everyone to tap into their superpower. The second thing that you really need to do is examine your core. And when I say examine your core, what are your values, your beliefs, your lifestyle? What is it now? What do you want it to be? And the third thing is take that information and develop a SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis meaning your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And I'll go into that a little bit more, but analyzing that will really help you to move forward and make some steps that are right for your next career move.
All right, perfect. I love it. So, all right. So step one, let's unpack these bad boys and share with us some of the wisdom you have, you've developed over the years around these.
Yeah, so, the first thing, your personality type. So as a certified MBTI practitioner or Myers-Briggs Type Indicator practitioner, I can share things from this MBTI lens. So, the question is, why MBTI? Wait, let's take a timeout and stop for a second. Please stop. Let's talk about this cup. I'm sorry, everyone. Let's talk about this big relish cup that you put.
All right. So for those of you who are
cup.
not on YouTube, you have no idea what's happening right now.
Love your cup. Need to get one later.
It's literally like 20 ounces. It's an enormous teacup, and it says relish on the rim because, I relish my time with Keyia Kersey. So I'm relishing
in this. I am relishing in this moment right now.
Yes.
So, okay, I'm going to try and focus. Okay, so this personality type, right? Figure out what your personality type is. One way to do that is through a career assessment. I'm an MBTI practitioner, so I can speak from the MBTI lens, the Myers-Briggs type lens. So why would you use, I would say, a Myers-Briggs personality inventory over all the others? There's so many you can pick and choose.
Right.
MBTI, it's a self-reported instrument. So that means that you select your own preferences. It's non-judgmental. It doesn't judge your personality type. It indicates how you prefer to approach a situation and interact with life. It sorts people into, I I guess it sorts people based on their preferences. It doesn't put you in a box and say, this is who you are, that's your label, right? So that's why I like it too. And it's also well researched. It's something that is used worldwide. It's been around a very long time, and it's the most widely used psychological assessment in the world. So that's why I use it. So I'll talk from that lens.
Let's go more into this. Let's go more into Myers-Briggs, because you have people say all the time, oh, these are my 4 letters. And like, they don't even say it's Myers-Briggs, but when you get those 4 letters, like, you know that it's Myers-Briggs. So what are your 4 letters?
My 4 letters, I am an ENTJ. Oh. That just means that I am an extrovert. I utilize the extrovert preference. I utilize the intuition preference. I utilize my thinking preference the most, and I utilize my judging preference the most. And I can tell you what all of those mean.
So I am INFJ.
Love it.
Yes. What is F? I can't remember what F is.
Feeling.
Oh, okay. All right.
Feeling.
Oh, tell me.
What are those 4 letters? So you're IN, you said, right?
INFJ.
INFJ. So you're introverted. You're intuitive, meaning you are more of a visionary person, right? You're looking at the future. You make decisions that are more in line with your feeling, with your gut, your hunch. You have a hunch about something, you make decisions based on that feeling. And then as a J, you're a person you're a pretty organized, structured person. You like to do things in an organized way. You like things on your calendar. As opposed to just being like, I'm just going to take things as they happen. You kind of like to ensure that you have a plan in front of you.
I love it.
Yeah. So,
you know, when I first did Myers-Briggs, it was one of the first times where I ever stopped to think that maybe I am an introvert, because I've always had such a big mouth, right? I've always been a talker. And, you know, and everybody, I remember I worked on a big team of like 22 people in HR, and we all got our Myers-Briggs, and they were like, well, but how can you're an E, you're not an I. And what happens is, due to some of like my upbringings and coping mechanisms that I developed for myself through adolescence or whatever, I learned that people like people who are outgoing and warm. And so I learned to do that, but it drains me.
Yeah.
It's not my natural state. It's something I learned how to do to cope. And so in reality, when I'm around a group of people for a long time, I feel like I've just been beat up, you know, at the end of it.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, because if you're an E, if you utilize the extrovert preference the most, then you're energized. That gives you energy. It should give you energy.
Yeah.
But knowing that it drains you, oh yeah, you're a clear eye, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it is my assumption then that when you have really time alone to think, process, strategize, that's when you get your most energy.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, there was this family trip that my siblings planned. It was going to be like 12 of us going to Belize. And at first I was like, oh yeah, that sounds great. And then like the closer we got, I'm like, I'm not going. I cannot be.
Oh my goodness.
I cannot be like in this tight space with 12 people for 10 days. Like, it's just going to kill me. Like I need, so, you know, anyway, so that's not really on the topic of career, but it's on the topic of like Myers-Briggs and how accepted it is and widespread and well-known it is. And so why does it help someone who is interested in a career pivot to do an assessment, which could be Myers-Briggs? It could be any number of other assessments that help someone understand how they tick. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, you know, when we talk about the different letters and what they stand for, you gave a great example in what you were saying regarding you feeling drained after giving these presentations or being around so many people. And what that means is that if a person is trying to assess their next step in a career, then they should really take a look at how they're energized. When we talk about why Myers-Briggs and why, look at how you're energized. Because if you find that you're really drained after, being around large crowds or talking with a lot of people or in those types of situations, then maybe a sales role, a role where you have to be in front of people all the time or kind of be in front of people to develop relationships, maybe, not all the time, but maybe you want to think about whether or not that's a good fit for what your preference is. And it doesn't mean that you can't do certain things, because if you want to do something and this is a goal of yours that you have, go for it. But if you're tired at the job that you're at, then there's a reason why.
Yeah.
There's a reason why you're not feeling fulfilled. And looking at those MBTI preferences will help you to figure out what your natural makeup is. For example, can you do me a favor? Do you have a pencil and a paper readily accessible to you?
I do.
Do me a favor and just write your name.
Whole name?
Just, write your full name. Let me know when you're done.
Done.
When you were writing your name, did you have to think about which hand you were going to write with?
No.
Exactly. So similarly, when you're exercising your MBTI preferences, it's not something that you have to think about. Yeah. It's innate and it's natural. And we are our true selves when we're doing things that come very natural to us.
Yes.
Right? Right. So I like to look at it that way.
Yeah. So I want to hop in and talk about this because, here's, when I work with clients who feel stuck in their lives, it's not that I can't write my name with my right hand. I can write my name with my right hand.
Absolutely.
And depending on how much effort I want to put in, I can write my name in a fairly legible way, or I could do it in a less careful way, but I can do it.
Yes.
But does it feel good? It doesn't feel good, And so this is a really nice corollary to, I love that the conversation is going this way because I didn't know that being in front of people didn't feel good to me. I didn't know that putting myself in extroverted situations drained me. I had never stopped to investigate that. I knew it felt good when people responded favorably to me. And how do I get people to respond favorably to me? To go in front of people and charm them. So I was doing that. And I just felt exhausted and just depleted at the end of every day. And so as we look at what life needs to look like, whether it's career, whether it's the type of place I live, whether it's, is my relationship working for me, whatever the case is, investigating what makes us tick is so key, because we may have made assumptions based on the societal most favorable mix of characteristics and be like, okay, well, that's what I want. And we may have modeled an entire life around situations that don't feel good to us.
Yeah, that's right.
We wonder why people are depressed, and we wonder why people feel angry at the world. Right?
That's right. That's right.
I love
it. And
that.
let me tell you, our introverts are our rock stars.
Well, duh.
Hello. Can I tell you, as an extrovert, do I always think before I speak? I would like to. But sometimes I think I'm a very strategic person in what I say. I do think that I am very strategic in what I say. However, what I mean, let me clarify, please, I can't with that cup.
Look, I am going to drink my tea, Keyia. I just got to tell you.
Just send me one. I'm really I'm just like, I'm jealous. This is real jealousy coming through.
All right.
So you have to send me one.
You bet.
Okay, or just tell me where to order it. I'll order. what I want to say as far as introverts really being our rock stars, and what I was saying was clarifying me thinking through things before I speak. As an introvert, I like to come to conclusions by thinking out loud. So if I was in a business meeting with a lot of people and the person leading the meeting, was talking, and I had a good thought about whatever that person was talking about, I would outright jump in. Or if the person said, "What do you think about that?" I would outright spit out what's in my head, or I would go through my thought process out loud. Whereas an introvert would really go through their thought process in their mind and then say a polished conclusion, at the end, right? Mm-hmm. So that person is really taking in a lot of information. The extrovert, such as myself, may continue talking. The introvert is really taking all of this in and then coming to a well-formulated response. I believe that, as extroverts, sure, we come with well-formulated responses as well, but that different tactic is such a strength. Yes. And this is what I talk about when we say identifying our strengths and our superpowers.
Yes.
Extroversion versus introversion. Extroversion versus introversion is how we're energized. So we talked about how you're energized, right? You're energized. An extrovert is energized when they're around lots of people. An introvert is energized with that alone siloed time. The next preference pair is sensing versus intuition. So that is how we take in information. So a person with a sensing preference is more so taking in the details that are around them, right? So if they're in a meeting, they're taking in all of the detailed information and they are trying to come to a conclusion more so for the now, an immediate conclusion.
Okay.
That will be able to mitigate whatever challenge the group is facing immediately.
Okay.
Or whatever challenge the project is facing immediately. Where the intuitive person is looking to the future of everything. They are the visionaries. So they're trying to come up with, their minds immediately go to how can we develop a process that's going to be last longing for the future.
Yeah.
So an example of that be if you take your hand and put it in front of your face. Mm-hmm. A person with the sensing preference is looking at all the grooves in the lines. Mm-hmm. A person with an intuitive preference is looking out in front of them. Mm-hmm. So the sensing person is looking at all the nooks and crannies. The intuitive person is looking out in the future, and one is missing something that the other is not missing.
Right. One is not stronger than the other. One is not better than the other. It's a continuum, right? And everyone has a certain ratio of these two, right? Nobody, almost nobody, I mean, I don't want to say that, but like the likelihood of you being 100% sensing and 0% intuitive is like,
it's very unlikely. That's right. It is very unlikely. We all utilize both, right? We just utilize one more than the other.
Yes. Okay.
So a person with a sensing preference would probably do really well with something like data analysis.
Okay.
Right? Because they are really analyzing lots of detailed information.
Right.
Where an intuitive person, sure, they could do it, but it might be a little bit more of a challenge for them.
Yeah.
Because they're more focused on the bigger picture.
Okay. All right.
Of things. Yeah. Thinking versus feelings, how we make decisions. So a person with the person with the
you cannot every time.
Sorry, I'm trying. I'm trying.
I'm just gonna turn off my camera. That's all.
I'm trying. Don't turn off your camera. I'm trying.
Look,
the person with the thinking. So the person with the thinking preference is making decisions based on factual information. The person with the feeling preference is more so, like I said, making a decision based on their gut, their, what feels right.
Yeah.
Right. So say if two people were looking at a resume for a candidate, say if we were both recruiters, we were looking at a resume, trying to decide if we want to bring this candidate on. I may say, you know what, I need a little bit more data on this candidate, just a little bit more data. You may say, you know what, after reading through their resume, I think I get a good feeling about this person.
Right.
My gut is telling me that this person is it. Just you're putting the patterns together and you get a gut feeling.
I'm like, you're blowing my mind right now because like, okay, so like I do, I write resumes for clients. It's one of the services I do. And like, one of the big focuses that I do is I say, listen, we need to control the subliminal messages of your resume. How much white space is there on the page? How parallel is the formatting, right? Is there enough space between characters? Is there, does it feel balanced? Like, does it feel scrunched? And I tell clients that when you're looking at 20 resumes in a row, when one is subliminally pleasant, it stands out. But so as you're talking about like the resume example, Keyia, like it made me think of like, well, that's why that's such a focus of mine when I work with, because that I find that that's, obviously the content is very important, but I also really recognize the significance of a well thought out document that feels,
and that's just as important. And that's a perfect example. That's a perfect, because it's what you're saying and describing is just as important as the data that's in it. But that's why, you're looking through that lens, is because of the preference that you have, your feeling preference.
I would have had no idea. So I love that. So, all right.
And then the last one, I don't know how we're doing on time because we can talk forever. The last one, I'll be quick, is judging versus perceiving. So a person with
there must be a J because it's all about that judging, You can't talk about the Guidry I said that.
You're all about the judging.
I don't think she listens to the podcast, so you can't talk about the Guidry I said that.
I love Mother Guidry. There's a special place in my heart for Mother Guidry. Certainly. I will never forget when she had me over the house around the holidays. It was wonderful. I think she's great. So I love Mother Guidry. But it doesn't mean judging. Judging doesn't mean like, oh, we're being judgy today. How does this look? How does this look on he or she? What judging means is you like a life that's organized. You like to set goals. You like structure. You like making decisions that you can move on. Where a person with a perceiving type or a perceiving preference is one who really likes to approach life as it comes, right? Doesn't like to make definitive plans because they like to leave their schedules a little open so that there is freedom for whatever life brings them, right? I'll tell you something funny. So, look at it this way. A person with a judging preference, if we had a picture of that person at their desk and they had a stack of papers next to them, they would be like pulling one paper off, finishing it, putting it to the side, pulling the next paper. They're getting things done.
Yeah.
Where the person with the perceiving preference is probably like, I have a lot of time to get this done. I have until next Wednesday, I can get through this pile by next Wednesday. I'm going to take my time and get through the pile. Now, they'll get through the pile, but just a little bit more laxed about their time there.
All right. Yeah. So once you kind of have done an assessment, and we're specifically talking about the value of Myers-Briggs, but once you've done an assessment and you've kind of understood what makes you tick, because again, the thing is to challenge the assumptions with an open mind, the assumptions we've had about ourselves our whole lives, because we may have been forming ourselves to someone else's ideals and never stopping to question. We may assume the fact that it didn't feel good is an error in ourselves rather than an error in the path we're taking that really is someone else's path, right? So
that's right.
Yeah. So once we've kind of looked at our superpowers and we've decided, okay, I don't want to be in a job where I have to sit in my office all day because that is draining to me to be alone too much.
Yes. It's scary. I ran out of my house this morning because I was like, I just don't want to be by myself. So
Right. Yes.
I'll let you
And I'm not
finish.
talking about me particularly, right? Like that's
I'm talking
you.
about me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
That's you,
me.
you know. But then like, and let's say I don't want a job that focuses too much on the nitty gritty. I know that I really prefer high level conceptual work. That
Yes.
feels exciting to me. Whereas like getting down
Yes.
into the numbers or planning out detailed sub strategies is just draining for me, right? So once you've kind of identified that, we move on to step 2. Now, this is something where the listeners of this podcast can go ahead and roll your eyes, all of you, all three of you listeners, go ahead and roll your eyes because I talk
I
about
love all
value
3 of you listeners.
all the time, all the time. So tell me, what do you mean that you need to examine your values if you're looking at a career pivot?
Here we go. I call it your core. Your core consists of your values, your beliefs, and your lifestyle. And here we go. Your values. Do you value family time? Do you value, here we go, on rolling the eyes. Do you value position titles? It's okay. Do you value climbing the corporate ladder? Do you value educating others? All of it's okay. Any of those things that I just mentioned is okay, but you have to be true and honest with yourself. It took me a long time to be honest about the things that I value. And I guess this is a time for me to be vulnerable. I value position titles.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know, and it took me a long time to say that because I felt like I was being like, oh, really judging myself, like, oh, that's not a good thing, but it's all okay.
It's fine.
Whatever you value it's completely fine. Just be honest with yourself.
That's the thing. Yes. Oh my God. Oh my God. Like, I mean, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to how you raise your children, when it comes to setting your house's financial strategies, like be honest, right?
Yeah.
Are you trying to get your kid into that preschool because it's a loving decision based on just based on love, or is it based on fear? Is it if I don't do this, things aren't going to work out okay. If I don't,
wow, that's so powerful.
Yeah, I'm going to let myself down. If I don't do this, my parents are going to judge me. If I don't do this, I'm not going to be as good as my neighbors. If I don't do
my word,
I'm failing according to some life mission I set for myself 30 years ago. You know, and rather than I'm doing this because I have the means and it's natural and it flows and it feels great to do this. You know, like there's let's be honest about that stuff.
That's so powerful.
Yes, yes. And so bring it into your career. Like, you know, if you had a goal that you need to earn $150,000, is that because of your values? Maybe it is. If your values say achievement is necessary for you to feel satisfied, if your values say, let's say adventure, right? Because let's say you want to go trek through Antarctica or climb Mount Everest, or you want to, you know, go do these things that cost a lot of money. So if you're doing things that are aligned with your values, they feel good. But let's say those aren't my values. My values are family time. My values are serenity and peace.
Educating others, training people.
Others, right? Maybe I put myself in a career where I can earn $150,000 at the expense of what makes me feel good. And so I have the money and I feel gross about it.
That's right. That's precisely why identifying what your values are so important. The next thing is your beliefs. Do you believe that you should be working 9 to 5? Do you believe that you should be working weeknights? Do you believe that you should be working weekends? All of that is important when you're looking at the type of job that you want to go into. There are certain jobs that are a little bit more demanding in those areas than others. There are certain industries and careers that are more demanding in those areas than others. So it's very important that you're looking at that when it comes to the things like what you believe.
Because if you don't align with your beliefs, it's like you're selling out. It's like you're selling yourself out. And then you feel like you're a traitor to yourself.
That's precisely. And it ties right into your lifestyle, exactly what you were saying. Do you want to live a comfortable lifestyle, a basic lifestyle? This all plays a part in your career decision,
Yes.
right? When it talks
Yes.
about finances. So values, beliefs, lifestyle, all intertwine.
And again,
together.
it comes down to questioning what we've accepted as true, right? Because we
Yes.
all say, well, yeah, I want to make a lot of money because life is less complicated and it's simple that way. Okay, that's great. That's great. That's fine, right? If that's, but is that really what your inside is telling you? Does your inside tell you that if you don't make this money, you don't feel good, right? Or is that just what you've heard?
Yeah,
And you've accepted it as your personal truth.
And you've accepted it. Because once you accept something, you also attract it.
Right. Right. It's like people who get promoted into management jobs because they just, that must be good. It's more money. It's a bigger job. That must be good. But did you stop to ask yourself if that's what feels good to you?
That's right.
Are you selling out what feels good to you for someone else's ideals of good?
Yeah. The other thing is that people will start to notice is that when your values align with your career decision, your values, beliefs, your lifestyle aligns with your career decision, you also ignite this creative side of you, right? And then when you do that and you start creating, if money is something that you felt like, you know what, I would like more money, but I value these things, money will follow. And people, I know it's like a shallow thing, you hear that, but it is so true. When you really start to tap into your superpowers and your creativity and your values align with it, then the money will follow. I value family, I value position title, I value balance, so at some point I really had to stop valuing or believing, I should say, believing that those other things were necessary in order for me to be successful.
Right. Because it's like a continuum, just like your 4 letters. It's not that it means you don't care about money. It's like, where does your salary fall on your list of priorities? And maybe 5 years ago in your life, money might have fallen in the number 3 spot. And maybe you've had a shift. And today, upon closer evaluation, maybe your financials fall in spot 6 or spot 7 in your priorities. So it's not that we're saying like you don't care about that stuff. You don't care about getting promoted. You don't care. It's not what we're saying. It's that, are your priorities in order according to what feels good, or is it someone else's priorities?
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Spot on. And then the last thing that you should do when you're looking to make that career change or go to a different position, leave your current position, take all that information we talked about and put it into a SWOT analysis. So again, SWOT analysis being strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for yourself. So I'll give an example. Maybe for strength, you're a visionary person. You like to solve problems. You care about social justice issues. Maybe the weakness is that you don't like micromanagers. Maybe for under opportunities, a nonprofit executive role might be a good fit for you because you're a visionary, you like to solve problems, and you care about social justice issues. So maybe an opportunity is a nonprofit, one of the industries or roles that you look at, just one of them.
So I have a question about opportunities. Do we mean opportunities like the nice way of saying things we're not doing well? You know how like in business, we're like, well, what's our strength and what's our opportunity, right? Opportunity means like what you're failing at, or does this mean opportunity like a new chance at something? I just want to clarify that.
It's both.
Oh.
And thanks for the clarity. It's both, and I'll show you how. So opportunities are and one part of it is, what are the opportunities that fit in with your personality type and your core? But then it's also, what are you not doing that you could start doing in order to help you figure out where you want to be? Maybe an opportunity now is to start some informational interviewing. So once you identify some careers that fit with your personality type and your core, then you start doing talking to people that are within those industries with that title or in that field to see if it would actually gel with you.
Yeah.
Right. So there's an opportunity for you to start exploring that.
Okay.
And doing that, it's an opportunity for you to learn more about the organization, or maybe to learn more about whether or not you'd be a good entrepreneur.
Right. Yeah.
Right. If it's learning more about an organization, then maybe you learn about the managers that are there. And if you were to be a position, would you be micromanaged?
Yeah.
If your weakness is micromanaging, right?
Right.
If you're looking to explore entrepreneurship, this is an opportunity for you to start talking to other entrepreneurs, maybe in similar fields, and to try and get a realistic point of view of what that looks like.
Yeah. Okay.
From someone who's already doing it. So I'm talking about both. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about both. And then the last are the threats. The threats, peers who currently have experience in that industry, but knowing your threats will help you to take action.
Okay.
Right. So do you need to volunteer at an organization? Do you need to do some gratis work if you're looking to be an entrepreneur? Do you need to do gratis work first? Right? Maybe do some things for free in order to obtain that additional experience.
So what's
right?
the difference between a weakness and a threat?
That's a good question. So the weakness on this chart is something that that you're just not, that you're struggling with.
Okay.
You maybe you're not good at. So if we talk from personality type, you have your superpower and you have the thing you're not so good at, right? Maybe you're not the detailed person. So that's the weakness part, where the threat, I'm talking about external environmental things, and weakness, I'm talking about internal things that are internal, innate to you.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So threat might be like, for example, if I want a tech job, but I'm in a location where tech is not really a prominent industry.
That's right. That's a threat.
That's not a weakness, but it's an obstacle that I'm gonna have to deal with.
Yes.
Okay.
And you need to know that. Perfect. And that's a perfect example. And you need to know that in order to make your career shift and make that change. You need to know all these things. So doing those three things: discovering your personality type, your superpower, your strength, evaluating your core, really assessing your core, developing that SWOT analysis, those three things. Once you do that, then you can say, you know what? You should, at the end of doing those three things, feel so much more empowered and enlightened about your next career move.
Yes.
So I have to say that. And I would also say that exercise of figuring out your personality type, once you've taken any assessment, it's always good to sit down with a career professional such as yourself, Johnny, a career strategist such as myself, in order to sit down and really unpack that information. Right? So that's where you come in, Johnny. That's really where you come in, for people to really unpack that information, right? So that's why they want to meet with you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that is amazing. I just feel like, I just feel like so many people are floating in a lukewarm ocean, and they can't see which direction to paddle in. And I tell my clients, it's on my website, it's everywhere. There are a couple of tenets of my practice. You already know, and you already are. You already know, you already
are.
I
love that.
But the answer is in the stillness. That's the thing. If you don't think you know, you need to get still. Yeah. And when I say get still, does that mean meditating? Sure. Right. But it means quieting all the external noise, quieting all the ideas you've absorbed from the outside, and asking your highest, most wise, loving self, what's true about this?
Yeah.
And then having the guts to run with that. Once your higher self tells you what's true, having the guts to accept it and use it, rather than saying, well, that was just my imagination.
Yeah. Can I say this? Everyone has a there's always someone or people in your life who is your coach, right? I have a number of people in my life who are my coaches, who are like my career counselors. You are like the career counselors or the life coach's coach, right? Right? You really are. You really are. You know, you're one of my coaches, and my career coaches, and I appreciate you so much. You know, it's just so enlightening. Just listening to you and listen to your responses is enlightening for me. So you're the career coach's coach.
Thank you. I love it. I love it. Well, let me tell you something. Together, we're like Voltron, baby. We put them little lions together, and we conquer the world. So
love it. Love it. Love it.
Go Care Bears. We just got to hold and let our light.
I used to love Care Bears.
Aim your light. That's what I tell them. Aim your light, right? That's
okay, can we stop for a second? I used to love Care Bears. I mean, literally brought Care Bears with me all the way up through college. Not going to get into details, just saying.
Mm-hmm.
I used to love Care Bears.
Well, if you want to know why I am the way I am, how about the fact that when I was like 7, Mother Guidry redecorated my entire room in Care Bears, talking about like wall cutouts, a huge rainbow going
That's not true.
To the ceiling.
I love her.
Bedspreads, everything.
Stop it.
And it's like, I mean, nature or nurture, I don't know, but
I love it. Love Mother. Yeah. Mother Guidry is always channeling her creative side to bring out the light, in others.
Well,
love
all
Mother
the other
Guidry.
Boys had Transformers and I had Care Bears, but you know, today
that's all. Listen, I'm glad that is all. That's all good. That's all good because I like Care Bears better.
Yeah.
So
that's right. That's right.
That's right.
All right.
More of the guys need to get on board. They need to get on board.
That's right.
You are a visionary anyway.
I'm so grateful for you coming on. I have relished this experience.
I gotta get one of those.
I have relished this experience, and I am so. I just thank you for sharing everything with our listeners. And if they would like to ask you some more questions about Myers-Briggs, if they'd like to find out how to get a Myers-Briggs assessment done, or if they have questions about career pivoting, or just want to ask you your advice, or maybe it's like someone that knew you in elementary school and they're like, oh my God.
I love anybody who knew me from elementary school, please reach out to me.
Yes.
Because I love if you were in Mrs. Squire's class with me, please reach out to me.
Not Mrs. Squire. Come on now.
Who loves Mrs. Squires? You know who I'm talking to. How can they get a hold of you? So via email, I go by Keyia, but my full name is Keyia. So it's SHAKEYIA. That's Keyia. And then my last name, Kersey, KERSEY @gmail.com. Keyia@gmail.com. You can also link with me on LinkedIn if that's easier. Just type in Keyia Kersey into Google and then link with me on LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn and link with me that way. You can also find me on Twitter. I'm Keyia K on Twitter. That's SHAKEYIAK on Twitter. I would love to link with you and talk to you and help in any way. All right, my dear. Well, I am going to just once again say thank you, wish you an amazing, amazing rest of the day. And I just want to send you all like my love and my blessings. And oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't let you finish because I'm so grateful. I appreciate you having me. You bet. You bet. All right, everybody. Well, as we wrap up, same message as always. Never forget to be good to each other and aim your light. Have a good day. Bye. You have been listening to Refractive Podcast, and this is Johnny G. If you've enjoyed today's episode, do me a favor, give it a share on social media, or if you're in the podcast app, give it a rating. If you're on YouTube, click like. It really does make a difference in the search results. I am a speaker, coach, and facilitator based in Washington, D.C., but I work in person and remotely with people who are ready to step with clarity into their most authentic life. If I can be of service, reach out to me, Johnny, JOHNNY, @refractivecoaching.com. Have an amazing day. Be good to each other. And always remember, aim your light.